Hello, everybody, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the Adventure Student Competition webinar. My name is Alexandra, and I will be your host today, together with Olivia, the representative of Let Toys Be Toys, who is kind to be here with us. So let's get started if you are all ready. I hope so. So what we will see today in the webinar. First of all, we will start with the brief of the competition, and we will have a presentation offered by Olivia. After, I would like to show you the important deadlines of the competition, and I would like to guide you to the registration process. So how you will register your team and how you will submit your campaign on the platform. In the end, we would like to hear from you, so we will have a Q&A session. You can submit your questions using the Q&A box on your screen at any point during the webinar, and we will address all the questions at the end. So I would now like to introduce you to Olivia, the representative of Let Toys Be Toys. Olivia will give a short introduction of herself, and she will then take you through the brief. Olivia, if you are here, if you hear me.
Yes, have you unmuted me? Yes, I'm here now.
Yes.
Hello, hi everyone. So I'm from the Let Toys Be Toys campaign. So we are, I don't know who will have heard of us, but we're a campaign that started in late 2012 in the UK on the parenting website Mumsnet. I've been on the campaign for about 4 years. We're a mixture of about 10 core campaigners with other volunteers. We mainly work on social media. So we do a lot of our campaigning and our successes through Twitter and Facebook. We now have over 34,000 Twitter followers, and people tend to tweet us about things that they feel are gendered or sexist within the toy industry. So our successes so far have been, and this started in the very first 2 years, that we wanted to remove the signs that said boys' toys and girls' toys in UK shops, so physical stores like big department stores or supermarkets. So in the first year, 14 retailers dropped those signs, and we've now discovered since 2016 there are no more signs that say boys' toys or girls' toys. We've also seen since 2016 a 70% drop in tags on online shops. So if you're shopping online, say that's on something like Argos or The Entertainer, you can search by the type of toy, not by who the toy is for. We've also won a few awards over the 5 years we've been going, which reflect the sort of effect we've been having on people and society. And then the sort of positive side of this, while we try to call out some shops and manufacturers for overly gendering toys and books, we also have the Toymark award scheme, where we recognise good practice. Most of these are independent shops, and we have certain criteria around what sort of labels and signs are being used in the shops, what sort of items are being stocked, what colours are being used, and what packaging is being used. But we have over 50 shops in the UK who've had the Good Practice Award awarded in the last 5 years. One of the things, though, that I think is always really important to remember is we do a lot of our campaigning on social media, and we also get what we call mystery shoppers to go into physical shops to sort of do some browsing and tell us what they can see. But we do also have behind the scenes meetings. So our first success was with the toy shop The Entertainer, and that was through a retailer meeting face to face. And we do work with some of the bigger brands, but we can't sort of say who they are at the moment because they want to sort of keep working at stuff and then go public. So I'm just thinking for the challenge we're setting you, we want the public to be very aware of what they can do, but it's also remembering that there are things you can do within a sort of corporate structure as well. So the reason Let Toys Be Toys was set up was to challenge gender stereotype marketing at children with retailers and manufacturers. And now we'd really like the parents who haven't necessarily embraced that to get behind what we're trying to do, and that is the challenge for this project. So it's something that we really care about and often join the dots around, in that we find, without realizing, people are buying toys and books for their children that may fall into traditional gender stereotypes. And they make an assumption about what a toy or book a child might like based purely on their sex, not based on what their actual interests are. And so we look sometimes at how in the early years the types of play you do, so whether you do some spatial play or some pretend play where you're using language a lot more, means you're practicing different skills. This then has an impact on things like your talking and writing, or your spatial and science ability. Then that has an impact later on in the subjects you're choosing as a teenager. And then obviously, I think the UK actually is worse than the rest of Europe for the STEM gap for women going into STEM and computing careers. And so we feel it's something really important. The other reason we've been campaigning is it affects boys as much as it affects girls. So for boys, it affects how they are taught to be in a very constrained box, which means they might not be able to express their emotions. They feel they have to always be strong. And so, again, I only have figures for the UK, but one of the biggest cause of death of men under 40 in the UK is suicide, because they're not able to actually express their anxieties. So this is something that we'd love everyone to embrace and think about the sort of longer term effects of those gendered childhoods having an effect as children grow up. So the way we phrased it is to offer boys and girls, or all children, a free choice of playthings and interests to be a social norm. So it's not that you assume dolls should only be offered to girls, and Lego or trucks only to boys. And we genuinely think most parents, when they're asked directly, don't think that, but you tend to fall into certain patterns as not necessarily as a parent, but maybe as a gift buyer or as a shopper or as a grandparent. And one aspect we look at a lot is how having a good range of play experiences enables a child to explore all sorts of things, and they're not sort of pigeonholed from early on. So one of the ways we would like this to be achieved is by challenging the gender stereotype marketing that is aimed at children. Some of the retailers and marketeers may say it's aimed at the parents, but obviously children are surrounded by images, whether it's TV adverts or posters, you know, advertising billboards, whether it's things they're seeing in magazines or books. So it's about how those pictures, what those pictures are doing to children, and so then getting parents on behalf of their children to challenge what they're seeing. And then also maybe if they're not going ahead to actually challenge the marketing outright, they feel confident that they are offering a wide range of play and they know why they're doing it. So I think that's really important. So we thought quite hard about the target audience, because obviously we'd love the message to go to everyone, but we were thinking one of the areas of people who we know don't engage as much is parents who don't think gendered marketing is a problem, and are happily giving their children maybe slightly narrower play experiences. We have no problem at all with girls playing with dolls or boys doing vehicle play. It's just about giving everyone a choice and not just making assumptions. But we'd love all the students to do more research around who they think the specific audience might be best to target. Our social media, we find, is very engaged with parents who are sort of like-minded, and obviously there's that feeling on Twitter where you can end up with a social media bubble, so it's how we can break out of that. We're also aware that often we get more engagement from mothers than from fathers. There are a few very engaged dads who might be stay-at-home dads or have daughters that they're bothered about it, but we'd love it to be broader than that. But we'd also love some research to sort of balance what we see on social media. This is the key message. You can give children the best possible chances to learn, grow and develop by making sure they can play and choose their interests freely. The picture we put up, you may have all seen on the internet, which is a Lego poster from the early 1980s. Most of us who started the campaign were growing up in the 70s and 80s, and we do believe that the sort of pinkification and gendered marketing started a lot more aggressively in the 1990s. But again, there's lots you can go and read about that and the effects that's had. There has been some talk in the press about how millennial parents, who most of us feel we're slightly older than that, are more embracing the non-gendered approach. But we've also come across much younger parents who grew up with pink and blue as the norm, so they can't see what the problem is. So it's a really interesting conundrum that we can look at. And really it's just about saying give people a choice, all children a choice, and don't put them in boxes. So the key message we've always had is that we're always reasonable, and we feel we've had a lot of success with this. Even though we're on social media, we've never had any trolls, had any attacking. So it's all very much, we're all in this together. We are never judging parents and telling them how to raise their children. We might just be saying, if you give more choice, this is what could happen. So it's sort of some education around, have you thought about this? But it's also celebrating stuff that already exists. So great, you gave your boy a doll, and looking at finding examples that are positive. And there's never any blame, because obviously we're not saying that, you know, if you never give your boy a doll, they're going to be utterly depressed for the rest of their life. But it's about connecting, making those connections. So these were some of the things we thought we'd like the response to be after you have created a campaign. That there's some very simple messaging in there, and that parents can take away immediately what they can understand. So it's about some small changes that they can do with their children. To give them the confidence and empower them to challenge advertising and packaging that suggests to my children certain toys are not for them. And then how could you influence your friends as a parent? The other aspect we often think about is that people often only notice how gendered childhoods have become when their friends or their brothers and sisters, and then they themselves start having children. And obviously across Europe, that's all quite at different ages. But we're always keen to try and get the sort of 20-somethings who might not yet have families, who don't realise it's a problem until almost it's too late. So that's another sort of target. Or even people who, you know, who've chosen not to have children but have nieces and nephews or friends having children, and how important it is. You can propose any budget, but we are an entirely voluntary campaign. We have no funding, and we've worked entirely through volunteers for 5 or 6 years. So we do everything on social media through volunteers. Eventually, we might have a sponsor. So I think, I don't know, Alexandra can probably talk a bit more about how the budget should be managed.
Sure. So as Olivia said, you are free to propose whatever budget you want, but you should keep in mind that the budget should suit the needs of the campaign. So keep in mind who the client is. So Let Toys Be Toys, as Olivia told you, it's run only by volunteers. So the campaign should fit with reality. So it can be an option that you propose sponsorship, for example. It is not mandatory, but it's just a suggestion. So you are free to propose what you want, but you should keep in mind that the campaign should suit the client.
I mean, the only thing I'd say if we're going blue sky is if we were to get a sponsor, we'd love to have a campaign that's not just on social media, but we've just never had the funds or support, you know, or the resources to do that. So we're already very successful on social media. So it would almost, the challenge would be how could that be translated to billboards or TV or YouTube? So yeah, ideas are great, but I'm afraid budgets are limited.
Exactly. So maybe that's where the student can be creative and can come with a creative proposal. So yeah.
Right. Is it still me or is it now you?
Yes. So thank you so much, Olivia. I would just kindly ask you if you could give me the control back.
Oh, yes.
It is good. Thank you so much.
Hang on.
So Olivia will be staying with us for the Q&A session. So as I said before, if you already have questions in mind and you don't want to forget them, you can already send them using the Q&A box, and we will answer all of them at the end of the webinar. So now I would like to take you through the important deadlines of the competition. First, of course, it's the 14th of December, when is the deadline to register your team. So the idea is that by then you will have a solid team and you are ready to start working for Let Toys Be Toys. So until 14th of December, you can register your team on our platform, and I will shortly show you how to do that as well. After that, you can start working on your campaign together. So you have time until 15th of March to submit your campaign on the platform. Afterwards, we will start the judging process. So the first round judging will start on 22 of March. And after this round of judging, we will announce the top 10 finalists. The top 10 teams are the teams who are going to the second round of judging. And after the second round of judging, the top 3 finalists will be announced on 26th of April. The top 3 teams will be the teams that will be invited to show their campaign to the final round of judges, and they will be invited to a European city, which will be soon confirmed during our EdCom meetings on 16 and 17 of May. And of course, the winning team will receive their well-deserved prize, so a paid trip and tickets to the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity, and of course, hopefully, the chance to have their campaign running live. Now we will go through the registration process. So first of all, if you go on our main website, the website of the competition, so you can see the link here, but shortly after the webinar, we will post a video, so you will have all the information, so don't worry about it. So we use the website as the main tool to communicate with you. So you can find information about the competition process, you can find the judging criteria and all the details about the 3 judging rounds. You can also find an inspiration hub, so you can find links there that might help you, and you can find campaigns of previous winners and previous finalists. But more important, if you click on register here, you will be redirected to the platform where you will be then able to register your team and later on to submit your campaign. So if you click on register here, you will go to the platform of the competition, which is adventure-competition.eu. And then if you click on sign up, you will have the registration form. So first of all, you should remember that only one person from your team should register the team. So your team should only be registered once. Then the first step is to choose if your university is an EDCO member. If yes, you go on choosing which one is it. If not, you choose the first option. It is not an EDCO member, and we will soon follow up with you. Then you go next, and you will have the second step. So the person registering the team can now enter their personal details, and then the details of the academic advisor, which is the professor who will guide you through the competition. And then the very important last step, it's the team information, the team name. So the team name should be different from your campaign title. You will be asked questions about the campaign later on, but already at this stage, you should have a team name, which you should enter here. Then the person can enter his or her teammates. So you enter the details of your first teammate, and then you click on add a team member, and you enter the details of the next one, and so on. So the team should be composed of maximum 4 people. After, you will click next, and the process will be finalized. You will have to wait for us to validate your team. When your team will be validated, you will receive an email giving you your login details. You should check your spam folders as well, because it is likely that the email goes in the spam. After you have your login details, you can access the platform again, you can log in, and you can see the menu where you will have to enter your campaign later on. And we advise you to not wait until the last moment, so in March, before the deadline. So we advise you to take your time to get adjusted with the platform, to see exactly how to use it, and to see that you will need time to enter the details on the platform as well. So keep this in mind, please. So thank you very much. This was everything we wanted to share with you, and now we would like to hear from you. So we will go on to the Q&A session, and I will start reading your questions, and me and Olivia will be answering them. So first question, it's from Amber, who is saying that it's interesting that Amazon have removed boy-girls categories, but the common search terms by users do use boys' age and girls' age, suggesting the buyers are still very much using the boy-girls label. So would we like to share something about this, Olivia?
Yes. Yes, this is something we have looked at. Google and Amazon are a tricky one. We have considered trying to buy you know how you can buy AdWords and have stuff appear on the side if certain words are searched? And we have considered buying boys' toys and girls' toys and putting up a little link saying, have you thought if this is the right search you really mean? But we haven't got the resources or time. So I think it would be a really interesting one to look at about the behaviour online and how much that is driven by what the algorithms are by Amazon and Google, rather than by what people actually are looking for. And that sometimes the only way they can find stuff is by labeling it as for boy or for girl. The other thing we'd say about Amazon is, although they have taken out, there's not really a sort of hierarchy where you go into boys' toys and then drill down, but they have an awful lot of sellers, as you know, or a lot of product descriptions, and they can be quite erratic. You know, a seller might put up some pajamas and say they're for boys when they're not. So it's just those sorts of, yeah, it would be really interesting to look at as a campaign.
Okay, so students will be welcome to look into this.
Yeah, and I think how people behave online and then how they're being funneled by how the algorithms and how they, how they're being shown stuff they've looked for already can have an effect on what they think they need.
Okay, great. So the next question, it's from Truce, asking if there is a budget for the campaign. We already have discussed this, so the budget is open. You can suggest whatever budget you wish, but you should keep in mind the client, and the campaign should suit the client. I don't know if you would like to add something else except what we told them before, Olivia.
I think only that there isn't a set budget. Obviously, if we got a sponsor, we'd love that, but we work very much on a shoestring, and we think this is a great opportunity to get the message to more than the UK. But it's the challenge, I think, is how to do that if it's not through social media.
Okay, then Lara would like to know if there has already, if there has something been done except the social media. So if you also use other medias or...
Okay, so we, yes, we do. We have a website, which is quite extensive, and I'd recommend you look at that for blog articles and our latest research and news. However, but that's still online. We have been interviewed and published in different publications, and we've had quite a lot of coverage in the UK press. I've had a profile in the Times educational supplement, that's the big sort of educational press here. We've also had things where we've done articles with teaching unions, where we've been interviewed by Toy News Online, and sort of trade things. We have also been on television and radio, but it's very much one-off, when there's a news story and then they've included one of us. And we promote those through social media when they happen, but we don't really sort of keep them. I'm trying to think what else has been done. Yeah, we've never paid to take out advertising or done any television or online video. Trying to think what else. No, that's it really. So there's been some print. TV has tended to only be short interviews that are topical.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, and we can also tell them that they can find more information on your website and on our website as well. And this helps a bit for the next question coming from Job as well. So he's asking if we could elaborate on pain points of the current situation and specify research and consequences. So first of all, I would like to say that we have linked to research and interesting articles on our website in the Inspirational Hub, and also on your website. I believe they can find this, but maybe you would like to add something else to it?
Yes, I suppose so our website may be relaunched by the end of the year, but in the meantime there are lots of articles if you go online, and if you start following us on social media as well. So hang on, I've lost your question now. I'm doing them and that's what I want. So the main thing I think is that there's an awful lot of research out there around what children say they prefer, and then it's how you sort of make sense of that based on the effects of society and the effects of education or whatever it is. There was a brilliant documentary in the UK last year, which is now on YouTube, called No More Boys and Girls, which was about a class of 7 and 8-year-olds who had lots of their gender stereotypes challenged, and it had a huge impact on the boys' behaviour and emotional well-being. and the girls' self-esteem, and they were using lots of the things we advocate. So there's sort of loads of stuff out there, and if you follow what we do on social media and look at our website, you'll see there's more people doing similar, and that should give you a good depth of understanding.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also, I would like to mention that we have a Facebook group for the competition. So if you join the group, we will post regularly this kind of links, this kind of articles. So this can serve as an inspiration hub as well. So please join the Facebook group and you will find more details there. It's okay with you, Olivia, I will go to the next question.
Yep.
Julie would like to know how many volunteers are there working for Let Toys Be Toys?
Okay, it varies. There are sort of, I think I said there are 10 core people, and there probably are. And then we might have another 10 at various times, but we sort of have individual tasks that come and go. So I hope that helps.
Okay, great, thank you. And the next question is, can students work on ideas of cooperation with governmental organizations working off this topic, or should the campaign be totally independent?
I can answer that as what we'd like, but I don't know if, Alexandra, you say what the rules say.
Okay, please go first and I can add.
Okay, so yes, I think that's a brilliant idea. We've sometimes talked about whether we should have a public health campaign around boys' emotions and girls' self-esteem. The other people we would like to talk to more here is the Department for Education. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea. And I think maybe are there other NGOs so some charities that may get government funding who might be interested as well. I think, yeah, good idea.
Yes, so it is definitely allowed. There is no rule that students are not allowed to do that. As I said, it should be up to their research. So students should do their research, and if that's something that they think it will work, if that's their creative idea, they can definitely go for it. I hope this answered the questions. So Amber is asking what media channels are the campaign hoping to use? I think it's up to the students to decide. So they are free to decide on media channels. But maybe Olivia, you would like to add something if you have one that you prefer, or?
No, I think as we've already said, we primarily work in social media because that's an easy, we can all do it. So we're a remote campaign. We don't have any headquarters. We all just work from our phones or our laptops and do everything virtually. So no, it's entirely up to you, really.
Yes, up to the research as well. Yeah. So it should be the decision of the students.
Yeah.
Anne is asking if there is research available. So as I said, you can go on our website and you will find more research about this.
Yes, and I'd say, Anne, do look at the Let Toys Be Toys website, because there was a lot that we could have put into the presentation that we didn't, because we want to see what approach, a fresh approach from the students. There's an incredible amount of reading you could do, but I'd suggest just starting with the research we've done and then what we reference would be great.
Yes. Okay. Anne is also wondering if there is an issue among children regarding gender stereotyping. If the campaign started from this, if Let Toys Be Toys started from this issue, if you saw an issue.
Yes, I can see Anne has a few questions.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure what the question is, but I'd say it's explained in the presentation.
Yes.
That, and I think this is where our website would be good to look at. we're very simply challenging gender stereotypes in childhood, because we believe they are damaging children's life chances if we do it in that way. But it's also about challenging sexism. So I think there's a general push towards more equality, and yet children are very much being put into narrow boxes that sort of reflect some elements of misogyny and patriarchy. And so I think it's just worth reading up about it, really. If what you're asking is, are the children themselves affected, I'd say some children feel very bothered that they see a toy and think it's for boys or for girls, and they want to play with it and feel they can't. And that can peak between the ages of sort of 4 and 6 or 5 and 7. And again, there's plenty you can read about that. But as we also said, we want the message to be a positive one in terms of how can you expand your child's play experiences and life chances.
Yes, and also because Anne mentioned the logo. So the logo that you are seeing, the last one on the presentation, it's the adventure competition logo. It's not the Let Toys Be Toys logo. The Let Toys Be Toys.
Not our logo.
Yes, the Let Toys Be Toys logo. It's just the first one. So that's the adventure logo, just to be clear. I would then like to address the question, should we focus on Europe as a market or single out the UK? So if you would like, I can start with. So yeah, okay. So we would love to see a campaign that it's focused on the European market indeed. This is the challenge for the client, and if you can answer to the challenge, it would be great. I don't know if you would like to add something to this, Olivia, or if we should go to the next question.
No, I mean, we'd be really interested to see how it could be managed across the whole of Europe, because we know there are different challenges depending on sort of different cultural approaches. And as I mentioned, the UK has particularly bad figures for girls going into STEM. But you might find other figures in other European countries.
Okay, thank you. So we can then answer the next question coming from Sam. He's asking, how do you feel about toys that are still gender labeled only by colors, such as blue for boys and pink for girls?
Yeah.
So I already saw your position on Twitter, but maybe you would like to explain more.
Yeah. So we don't have any problem with pink. Well, we have a bit of a problem with pink and blue being used excessively. We'd love to see more colour generally. However, we are not against pink or against blue. What we have noticed, though, is that very quickly children pick up that something that's blue is the boys and something that is pink is the girls. So even if you've taken away the signs that say it's a girl's toy or the pictures of girls, the minute you put something into pink packaging, boys start to say it's not for them. And the same happens with blue and sometimes green for boys. So the challenge, I think, is around sort of re-embracing pink and blue to not become these signifiers of that's for boys and that's for girls. Again, we've got at least 2 blog posts about this with various references on our website. And there's also some very interesting history in that blue used to be the colour for girls and pink used to be the colour for boys. So it's quite interesting to look at.
Right. Okay. Next question is, when looking at sponsors, are there any types of company that you feel aligned or are total no-goes?
Yeah, good question. I don't think I'd like to say at the moment. There is, I don't know if Alexandra mentioned the Unstereotype Alliance.
Yes, it was not mentioned yet, but
no, but they're quite supportive. So I suppose you could look at who's signed up to that. But no, we wouldn't sort of want to name anyone at the moment. I think the main thing from our perspective is very much around the emphasis being on boys and girls, because I feel sometimes companies will come out with explicit girls and STEM campaigns, or, you know, women and, I don't know, getting women back into work. And while those are really important, we wouldn't want it to get skewed by that, I think.
Yeah, so I guess it goes again back to the research on what students find and what do they think it's suitable. Yeah. Then maybe Amber is wondering how long you would want the campaign to run. I don't know if we have any details about this already, or
No,
no.
that's tricky because we've always worked on social media. We're just sort of ongoing. I don't know. I'd probably want your professors to advise on that. And it very much depends on what you come up with, because if it's something viral, you know, could it just run and run? If it's billboards, is it around a particular event? So is it International Women's Day, or is it when they go back to school, which obviously is different times of year in different countries? I don't know, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We can share more details about this later on during the competition. And also, if based on their research, the students decide something, if it's visible, the jurors will consider it as being good. So again, it's very important the research that the students do, I think, and what answers they have coming from the research. Also, I should mention that the research, it's a criteria that it's being scored by the jurors. So it's a very important one, and most of the answers the students should have from their research.
Yeah.
As for, I have other questions regarding the geography, but we have already answered that it will be good if it's European. A question regarding the PXL University. Yes, PXL University, it's an EDCOM member. So yes. And then we have a question regarding the scope of the assignment if we look at specific countries and their local challenges.
Yes, and then there's one underneath about facing a pan-European campaign. Is there any difference regarding the subject between northern and southern countries, or western countries and eastern countries? I think both of those questions throw up the challenge of what research you need to do.
Exactly.
We know, I mean, you know, we don't want to stereotype, but in the Nordic countries, they might be more open to different ideas of masculinity. In the more southern European countries or Eastern European countries, they might be more resistant to breaking traditional roles. That's obviously a humongous generalization, and we'd love to sort of, you know, for you to do a deeper dive into that. I think the biggest challenge is, if you were to do a pan-European campaign, how that message, how you could get that message to mean something for someone in Poland as it does in Denmark, as it does in Spain, which is why we've tried to couch it in terms of doing the best for your child.
Yes, exactly. And also, if the students research European market, they can decide which markets they can start with, for example. They don't have to say we're starting with all of them. They can decide based on the research. So again, the research is very important.
Yeah.
So it can be based on the research that the students do, and they have to see where their campaign would be suitable, because it always has to be a starting point. So they have to decide which markets they are addressing. But it is very important that the campaign is suited to European wise, and that most important that the information that they enter on the platform to be in English. If you are trying to address some local markets, and if you have some media files in different languages, it is important that when you enter the data on the platform to translate those things in English so the jurors can understand and score you on your creativity. And I would then like to address the question of Anne, if it is possible to contact the client during the process. I will say that if anybody has questions, they can first come to us. If we can help you, we will help you. We are always available to answer your questions. If there are questions specifically for the client, we will collect them and send them to Olivia then, because it will not be visible if everybody will contact the client. So we will collect the questions and send it to her, and then we will send back the answers to you.
And one thing I would say is please do look on our website first, because we do get a lot of students, not doing the work you're doing, but sort of maybe younger students doing media studies, who will contact us asking quite simple questions, and really all the questions can be answered if you go on our website. But that doesn't mean you can't ask Alexandra some other questions.
Exactly, yes, exactly. So I will then now take the questions from Adelina. She's asking if we can use public persons or endorsers in the campaign. I will say that it is again up to the to the research, to the creative idea of the students. So if you think that that suits in the campaign, yeah, there is no rule that says you cannot do it. However, keep in mind the budget as well. So everything should come together nicely. I don't know, Olivia, if you would like to add something about that.
I think it could be a nice idea, depending on who the people are. We have a section on our website of all our supporters. So we do have some, they're a mixture actually. So some people that you might recognise from TV or books, but also female engineers or male authors who are supporting us. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's, with anything like that, it's finding the right person who speaks to a mass of people. One thing we have wondered about is the sort of influencers on Instagram for the younger sort of under 30s, and we haven't got very far with that. So yeah, that, you know, again, we're open to ideas really.
Yeah, great. And then can we extend the target or stick to the main one? So I would like to say that the target are the parents, but this is a very broad target, as we said. So it is up to students based on the research to come with a more specific target. But
Yeah,
the campaign
definitely.
should be aimed to parents.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think, you know, I've made some suggestions of how it could be slightly extended in terms of people who haven't yet had children, or people who aren't aware it's a problem. But yeah, so it's, again, it's up to you what research you find and how you think you could shape it.
Exactly. And then so we will go to the last two questions. First, it's who is to blame in the first place? Is it the brand, the retailer, or the advertising? And I would like to say that, as Olivia said, it is not about blaming somebody. It's about creating an answer to an issue.
Yeah.
And yes, and most important, the campaign again should address to the parents.
Yes,
So
and I think it's, yeah, we don't really assign blame. What the campaign originally did, the Let Toys Be Toys campaign, was it targeted retailers. We now do look at manufacturers, and obviously as part of that, there is always advertising and marketing. But I think it's a little bit like saying, well, you know, we live in a patriarchal society is a bigger sort of whole thing. You know, you could go on for ages. So yeah, there doesn't need to be any blame. It's just more around, one of the things we also talk about is unconscious bias, which I'm sure has been coming up recently. So it's thinking about just how you're automatically, and again, there's no blame because it's unconscious, making assumptions about people based on their look or background or whatever.
And the last question that we have received, it's from Arthur. It's saying, do you think it is wrong, for example, that the company makes dolls only focuses on girls?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, again, we don't like to say people are being wrong. We would prefer that if they are making dolls, that those dolls are made available for anyone who wants to play with them, and that could be a boy or a girl. There are disproportionately more dolls made that are girl dolls than boy dolls. There are also, if you look at our research from 2 years ago of toy catalogues, all baby dolls are shown being played with by girls. There are dolls played with by boys, but they include like superhero action figures. The whole focusing only on girls, if you take the doll example out, it's still slightly problematic. For example, there are things that market only to girls to get girls into science, or market only to girls to get girls into, I'm trying to think what else there's been in the past, computing, often coding. But again, it's saying that it's making the assumption that girls are only interested in something if it's got things like appearance and fashion and domesticity around it. And so that's where we think there could be more creativity and choice.
Great, thank you very much, Olivia. So I see that there are no more questions coming in. I guess then I will just thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Olivia, for the great presentation. And I hope that we answer your questions right. And if not, don't forget that we are always here to help you. You can always contact us. And as I said, if you have questions specifically for the client, we will collect them and send them as well. So thank you very much for being here. And Olivia, would you like to add something else, or?
No, I think good luck to everyone. We're really excited to have been chosen as the client, and we'd love, to see some fresh ways of approaching this, because we've always worked on social media, and it would be really exciting to see what you come back with. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and we wish you a very nice day.